What's up, everyone? Kyle here. I'm really excited to be starting a subscription for this podcast. Now, that doesn't mean that you need a subscription to listen to this podcast, but the benefits of getting a subscription are no ads like this one, and a shout out on each episode, as well as knowing that your money is going towards doing something good. This money is not meant to go to me. Some of it is meant to help me maintain this podcast and keep getting guests on, but most of it is meant to go towards providing school supplies towards kids in need. It's my commitment to put $3 of every monthly subscription towards providing school supplies to kids in need and helping them achieve their goals and dreams as well. This is a passion of mine. This is something that I really have been pursuing. This is why I have started all this, the podcasting, the books, everything like that, was to give opportunities to other people. So I'm very excited to be able to do this now. The subscription is $4.99 a month, so nothing crazy, unless one cup of coffee a month, that sort of thing. But it's very exciting, and it's going towards something that I am really passionate about and believe in. And I hope you enjoy the benefits of being a premium subscriber. There'll also be discounts and things along the way that I'll make available to people as time moves on and as this continues to grow. The link to subscribe is in the description below, so check that out. There's also a link to donate towards the mission of providing school supplies to those in need, so you can do that as well. Thanks again, and enjoy the episode. Welcome, everyone. This is Our Travel Experiences. I'm your host, Kyle Rasmussen, and today I have with me Corey. Corey, how are you today?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah, good to hear it. And let the listeners know, where are you at right now?
So I am currently in America, about 4.5 hours east of Johannesburg, right on the Mozambican border.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about Imagine Scholar and your travels over the years. Yeah, we had the opportunity to meet a long ways from where you're at right now in Yakima, probably like 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. When I first we actually were speaking at a Rotary event together, and I was like, oh no, I gotta follow this guy now. uh, no, what you're doing with Imagine Scholar is incredible, and so I thought I would just start by asking, what is Imagine Scholar?
Yeah, that's a good question. I honestly I kind of get asked that question a lot, and I think of Imagine Scholar really as just really kind of built on two core beliefs. The first is that there are like truly amazingly talented people evenly distributed everywhere in the world. Um, and then what we do with those people is not, evenly distributed. And then the other piece really is that these extraordinary people, these people who are committed to change and want to do big things, those are the people that change the world. And so what Imagine Scholar is it's almost we think of a lot of it as like an incubator program for future leaders, people who want to make social impact, who want to start businesses. And so we work with students from the age of around 14 all the way till they're 30. So it's a 16-year program that starts out with a really intensive high school program. So our kids come to us about 26 hours a week on top of school. So it's a kind of after school program on steroids. So kids come 2 hours after school, and then 8 hours on Saturday and 8 hours on Sunday, and really just learn to try big audacious projects and learn a little bit about entrepreneurship and about critical thinking, about meta learning, and about how to look at the world and see it as malleable and something that can be changed. With I guess the long term vision though is to build this network of people from this local community here in Mpumalanga who are kind of filling all the pillars of the community. They're the doctors and the teachers and the politicians and the business owners, and that network can make a really kind of truly sustainable, like a capital S sustainable change in this region. So we're about 13 years into the vision right now.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it sounds like an incredible program, and I had the opportunity to meet one of the students from the program, and just seems like you're building a lot of great future leaders.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think one thing that maybe makes our program, a little bit different is I think it's a very holistic program. I think when we look at what success is for a young person, it's not just, can they get to university or can they have a job? I think we really look at them as like fully thriving. Some of the things I'm most proud of with our alumni is it's just that they're really interesting people. It's like, the alumni you met is Lucky, and his name is Lucky. He's and he goes to Whitman in Walla Walla, not too far from Yakima. And it's like it's great that he goes to a great university studying computer science, but it's the fact that he's just like he's so vibrant. He's going on road trips with his friends and he's planning out like all the things he wants to do with his life. And it's like I think to me that's like the thing that I love about Imagine Scholar is that vibrance and the fact that I think so often, people from communities like this, it's they have to become very, very practical. And I think one of the things you and I bonded with is kind of a love of saying that like life is short and there's so many wonderful things out there in the world to see. And we want to kind of open that world up to our alumni, not just about can you be successful, but yeah, can you be happy, can you be healthy, can you be excited
Yeah,
by life?
yeah, definitely. So what gave you the inspiration to start this Imagine Scholar 13 years ago?
Um, I mean, I wish I had some like really, I had some brilliant business plan, or I was, I mean, it was really just I met a young man who was staying in an orphanage near where I was staying. I was here in South Africa for another project. It was actually during the World Cup, so the 2010 World Cup was in South Africa.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so I got an opportunity to go to that, which was wonderful. And but I met this young guy, and he was so motivated. And he was such a good kid. He was all the things you look for in a person. He just was kind and he was thoughtful and he had big dreams. And yet he was sitting in a classroom of 80 kids in the class, and there was no the like the special part of him, that vibrance of him wasn't really being nourished. And so there was just the thought that like, what if you did things outside of school? And so I took in a group of 5 kids, and I was planning on going back to graduate school. So I thought, well, this will be, these 5 kids, I can work with them and, maybe just try out some different stuff, try to do some of the things that really made me come alive as a person. And so it started off, just really with, I'd say with a lot of heart and not a lot of intentionality. And it's pretty incredible that it's become, something that is, I think this year we'll work with about 250 kids in weekly programs and about 3,000 students in light touch programs, and we have about 15 staff. And it's become something very, I think, much more established. But it really started out with just seeing an opportunity, and yeah, and just really just meeting a good kid and being like, gosh, this kid deserves he deserves to have something more than what he's getting.
Hmm. Yeah, that's incredible. What a journey, and I mean it's grown so much over the years. What was it like, taking those first few kids and working with them? Did you start kind of building this vision right away, or did it take some time, or what was it like with those first students?
Yeah, it was. I think one of the advantages we have is that we weren't trying to become like an organization. So I mean, it was a lot of, just I look back and I almost kind of cringe, but it's a lot of like, us going on field trips and going hiking and watching, you know, movies that I thought were really interesting when I was younger and reading books and it was just it really was, I mean, I was probably more like kind of a cool older brother who tried to get you into the stuff he was into. There wasn't a lot of incredibly brilliant curriculum the first couple years, but the big advantage we had was that we really built it together. Me and the first 5 students, we would try stuff every week, and then we kind of sit down and say, "Hey, did that work? Was that cool? Should we try something different?" We started out as a 2 hour a week program, and we slowly grew to 4 hours, then 8 hours, and but it was all because they made the decisions. And the first group of 5 kids selected the next. So we took in a new class of 10 students, and they did all the interviewing and they selected them. And I think it was a huge advantage not coming in with some like pedagogical approach that was supposed to work, because we were able to build something that really fit the local context that the students were really bought into. And obviously we made a million mistakes along the way, but I think the nice thing is, that the students have always really felt a lot of agency in the process. But it was very much accommodative errors a lot at the beginning. I mean, like I said, a lot of just us, like coming up with something that seemed really interesting, and then you'd sit back and be like, oh boy, that did not hit the mark. But again, I think all's well that ends well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so smart. I mean, you got the feedback from the students, and it sounds like they really helped shape what it is today.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and I think it's still like that today. So even though the program's grown a lot, so our current program, it's myself and my wife, and then of our teaching staff, the other 10 are actually alumni from the program. So our entire teaching staff and management staff is students who've come through the program. And I mean, now some of them are 27, 28 years old. But the cool thing is that we still bring students in, and so it's been this really it's been a very, very, our program is very iterative. Like this year, we completely threw out all of what we did. I mean, we basically are not, I don't know if we're doing anything. And I think the reason for that is we always kind of have this ethos of simplicity, of saying that, like really great education doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can create really profound breakthrough moments with really simple things. Like, we used to have a very elaborate critical thinking curriculum, and what we actually switched to this year is we just play, we have a thinking protocol, and then we play board games. So we play really interesting, thoughtful board games. And we run through these, this like thinking system protocol. And at the end, we analyze who won and why. And I think it works better. And it's also just, it's more fun. And so I think for us, a lot of it has been trying to prune and say, hey, is there any just unneeded steps? Is there anything that's holding back this process? And again, also, can you make it joyful? Our kids go to full-time school. And so to come 26 hours, you don't want to just add 26 hours of school on top of it. You got to make sure that it's something people want to come to. And I think we've done a really good job creating a really vibrant, fun environment that, again, like none of our students look at those 26 hours as any kind of like investment or like some difficult thing. It's like this is where they want to be. I mean, we joke the only day we take off is Monday, and it's if we opened on Monday, I mean, they would, every single one of them would be here.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing because I mean, 26 hours, that's a part-time job right there on top of, full-time school. So for them to be wanting to be there all the time, that's an amazing accomplishment, I would say.
Yeah, and also, I mean, our students, some of them travel 45 minutes each way to get here. So I mean, it's definitely it's an incredible incredible commitment. I think it's a good I think it's a good testament of community when you have a community that just really, I think a lot of times people talk about with teens like peer pressure is often kind of used as like a pejorative. It's kind of like a negative statement that like, oh, peer pressure, but it's like the positive side of peer pressure when young people are pushing each other and motivating each other in the right way. It's such a profound force, and I think we've got a really good amount of that positive peer pressure where like everybody's kind of egging each other on and wanting to do more. And so yeah, no, it's really cool. I never would have imagined that we'd have such buy-in. But when you look at it, I think that's one of kind of the secrets of success is that it's all self-selected. The agency comes from it comes from the students, that no one's required to come. And I think the fact that it is self-selecting is, yeah, I don't know. There's something to that. I think a lot of times education, which is this wonderful thing. I mean, everybody likes to learn it, there's a natural interest in like human beings, taking in and disseminating new information. But, school is, unfortunately, doesn't harness that interest very effectively. So I think when you get kids actually excited to learn, it's a pretty beautiful force.
Definitely, definitely. So, with the students that you have, is it like a selection process they go through, or is just anyone in the local community welcome to come?
Yeah, so we have kind of like, you can think of almost like a funnel. So we go out to schools and we run these low touch programs. And what we're looking for, we're kind of trying to give the best of Imagine Scholars. We do our meta learning curriculum, kind of this learning how to learn curriculum. We do some of our mindset curriculums of kind of how you control the stories and how you frame your life. And we are some of our critical thinking, like board game chess curriculum. And we look for the kids who just grab it and the kids who come early and want to stay late. And so those students get invited into a weekly program, a 2 hour a week program. And then basically we just see who are the most committed kids from that. And it really is, it's meant to be self-selecting. So we're not looking for who the smartest kid is or who's the most who has the best English skills or who's the most charismatic. It's just we're just looking for who's willing to make the commitment and our kind of like variable. So there is a selection process, but we it really is self-selecting. If a kid shows up and they really work hard and they want to be there and they treat other people the right way, they're going to get in. But it is, it's a huge commitment. So I think when you have a program that's 26 hours a week, I mean, it's very hard to fake that. You can't really. We have a 9-month application kind of year, so our whole grade 8 year is an application year, and we kind of joke, it's like you can't really fake something for 9 months. If you fake something for 9 months, you've just basically changed your personality, and great, you're in. But it is, yeah, I think that self-selecting nature, a lot of it is just based around choices, and and making those choices really clear that says, hey, Imagine Scholars are really powerful force, and this could really change your life, but you got to make that choice. And so, and that's a big choice for a 13, 14-year-old to make. So it's really cool that we get so many kids who really do kind of opt in and make that commitment.
Yeah. Do you have like as kids go through the program, do you have like a weekly like benchmark that you want people to hit, or just like a goal in mind for each kid, or is it really up to them to shape, what their goals and what they get out of the program?
Yeah, we have a few kind of like, kind of touchstones that everyone does. I mean, everybody fills out what we call an ecosystem reflection. So it's where you look at your health and your fitness and, your mental health and your joy and your relationships. And so they do kind of a general assessment of where they are this week and what they could improve. Everybody does kind of a learning scorecard, which is like, we treat their school kind of as their job, right? Like that's their, like that's their vocation. So we have a system where they can kind of lay out what their goals and deliverables are for their school week for themselves, and then they have a planner where they lay out. So it's like those are kind of the consistent things. But to be honest, every kid kind of is on a different journey. We do a lot of like entrepreneurship, so a lot of times they're working on projects or they're trying to do some kind of social ventures. So those will be very collaborative, and they'll have a collaborative goal. But what we're looking for really is for a student to have a breakthrough. We realized over the first kind of first 5 or 6 years there would be a moment in a young person's life where just something would happen and they would just take ownership of their life. It was like they no longer needed to be pushed or motivated. They really had their goals, they knew where they were going, they knew what they wanted. And so we really started kind of teaching towards that, and kind of saying, hey, instead of trying to give you a certain, like, imbue you with a certain set of skills, what we're trying to do is to basically get you to have this breakthrough, and then we're not really needed. Obviously you're welcome to stay in the program, and we're excited about to see where you go in the future. But yeah, a lot of it, the benchmark we kind of use is, can we get the kid to, and we just use that term a lot. We talk about what do you need, what blind spots do you have, what are the things that are holding you back. And so yeah, but it is very individual, and sometimes a student will have it when they're 15 years old, and sometimes they'll be 22 years old and they'll be seniors in university, and it all of a sudden it'll happen. So we're kind of agnostic to the timing, but I think that's always the aim, is how do we get you to have this kind of transformational breakthrough.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know. Thinking back on like my high school years and everything, I'm like, man, this would have been like such a great thing for me. I would have loved something like this. I feel like, it's such a great opportunity for kids to just kind of just be creative and just trial and error, and find things that might work for them, and just really discover themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of of like kind of having it be like a sandbox where you get to you get a lot of feedback pushed outside your comfort zone. And I think back to myself when I was in high school, and I was so afraid of challenging myself, and I think I was always looking for just whatever wouldn't, how can I not be embarrassed, or how can I fit in? And I have the same feeling of like, gosh, I wish somebody would have grabbed me and said, hey, you can do something, you have some potential in you. And I think a lot of times, um, I'm amazed at the bravery of our students. We just had 6 of our recent graduates who just went off on a 7 week hiking trip, and they're out there, and it's like, they just, all of them instantaneously, they've never been hiking, most of them in their life, and they're out there for, multiple, I think the first 4, and it's just like the fact that all of them are like, I'm in, let's do it. I love that spirit of like adventure. It's anytime you make any kind of offer, be it like attending some conference around the world, or like a public speaking engagement with like, the principals of the school. It's amazing how many of our kids are like so bold and ready to stand up. And I just think back when I was in high school, and it's just like, I just did not have that trait. It took years and
Yeah.
years of me trying to like push myself outside my comfort zone and traveling and all these things to just get me to have like, kind of where these kids are at 15, 16.
Yeah, I know. I was the same way. I was like, let's, pick the path of least resistance, not
Yep.
push myself too hard or embarrass myself potentially, and just, kind of get by. But it's I know when the last time you were here in town, and you were given updates on the program, you mentioned some of the like amazing things that some of the kids have gone on to do. So can you mention some things that kids have gone on to do, and like some of the amazing like scholarships and opportunities they've had?
Yeah, we've been really, you almost kind of pinch yourself of, our one little, this little blip on kind of in, out in this very obscure part of South Africa. It's amazing the amount of things that, young people from our program. I mean, we currently, just this year, we got two kids who got a scholarship to finish high school, one in Norway and one in Singapore. We've had students study in Hong Kong, in the Netherlands, in Armenia, in Lebanon. We have a bunch of students in the States, and we have students studying everything from, being, we have dentists and doctors. We have lots of people studying computer science and AI. And I think it's really cool because, when we first started the program, nobody in this from our area had ever done anything like this. And now when a young person starts this program, I mean, our guest speakers are all alumni, they're alumni from this program. And so you have somebody who sits up and says, hey, I went to medical school in Cuba, and, here's a picture of me swimming with dolphins. And, hey, I'm studying AI at Boston. And here's like what I'm doing. And it's such a cool, again, and I think the thing that I really look at Imagine Scholar is, we've had students do so many interesting things, but these kind of kids are in every community. And what I hope is kind of one of the lasting legacies of Imagine Scholar is to say, hey, one, we're really proud of our program, we're really proud of our kids, but like imagine the community next to us. There's a community right over the mountains from us where none of these things have ever happened. But it doesn't mean those kids are not in that community. And so I hope that people will look back and say, wow, like how much wasted human potential is there? That it's, I think so often we think of it in like zero sum of like, oh, a kid got a job, that was good. It's like, I think the biggest waste of like human resources, like the kid who could have been, like the scientist or like the inventor, and then ended up, getting a job. It's like there's a huge amount between just employed and reaching your full potential. But yeah, no, we have students who are studying astrophysics, and I mean it's really awesome. I mean, in some ways, being an educator, you get to I ran an astronomy. I'm a low level astronomy nerd, and one of my students who was in my astronomy club is now studying astrophysics down at the University of Cape Town, which is like the premier university in the continent of Africa. And it's like, she came from a family of, I mean, just like where no one ever would have thought a young woman from this family would have had a chance. She had, I think 12, 13 siblings. And, to see her like, yeah, I mean, like, she ended up finishing high school in the Netherlands and then got this scholarship to study astrophysics. And it's like, you hear stories like that and you just think, wow, it's like, it's really mind blowing. And the cool thing though is like it's so normal here now that you almost are jaded, like something amazing will happen and it's almost like, you almost become like desensitized to it, which is, I guess maybe good. I guess that's but yeah, I mean, the first few times it happened, you thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And now 13 years in, it takes a lot to really kind of, I think, surprise us at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it sounds like you really built a culture of success and achievement in that community.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing now is when kids start the program, it used to be me, I'd go out to the schools and do the first round of introductions, and now they meet, someone from their community. And I just think there's something so beautiful about that moment, when you see someone who grew up in the same village, and we're in a very rural, I mean, our area has, no running water and no sewage systems. And, I mean, it's a proper rural setting. But yet again, the potential and, like the human resource, we may not have a lot of like infrastructure resources, but the human resources are just mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, how have you seen the community change? Like, what was it like before you started Imagine Scholar when you were first there, and how have you seen it change over the years?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because our whole program's about like this societal change, and in kind of a weird way, it hasn't changed a lot, but it's starting to. And it's like I feel like we're just kind of starting to see this first kind of Imagine Scholar wave start to crest. So we have our first students who are starting alumni, like a social venture. So we have one of our alumni who started an early childhood development program that's based on Imagine Scholar and Montessori teaching, and it's a really innovative way of looking at early childhood. And so she's working with 40 kids, and she's now starting to even work with some of the other early childhood centers and starting to kind of upskill and give some training and resources. And we just have our another alumni who's starting a low cost public health clinic. That's so I think we're just starting to see the seeds planted. We have a few teachers and who are starting to go into the schools. So I think the community change is with our students, it's like it's very clear if our students are not the one who changes this area, it's just not going to happen. Our area is being a very deep rural area, and South Africa has a lot of systemic challenges just as a whole. But our area has probably around 85% unemployment. So it's an area where there is, there's all the challenges you can point at, like, but starting to see kind of the initial seeds, and we're doing a big ideas festival this December, where we're kind of trying to basically initiate the next round of projects. And so one of the goals is every year we're going to have this big festival, and that's where we're going to do pitches and kind of almost like a little bit of a Shark Tank style thing where alumni will bring projects and Imagine Scholar will kind of seed fund the next round of ventures. So it's a really exciting time here. For the first 10 or so years, the program was pretty similar, just kind of plugging along, and then these last couple of years have been this big expansion, which is cool. I mean, especially with alumni coming back and joining the staff. That was the big goal, is can we get will these amazing young people who have all these options in the world, are they going to want to come back to the village?
What's up, everyone? Kyle here. I am super excited to share that my audiobook version of Travel Tips is up now. You can find it on Audible, Libro.fm, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts. Go check it out and buy a copy. It also has 30 minutes, a little over 30 minutes of bonus commentary that isn't in the actual book, so that's a little added bonus. But go check it out. I appreciate all the support, and I hope you guys enjoy the episode.
They grew up in and work at Imagine Scholar, and we've been very grateful and very excited by how many of them. I mean, to have 10 of them back already is way beyond where we thought was possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. Are they just volunteering, or are you able to pay them and have them as actual staff members?
Yeah, we're I think Imagine Scholar has kind of a different kind of a different human resource philosophy, and the fact that like our staff and our really the product we're trying to create. So I think we've tried to create a very creative, I think a lot of times, people who work at nonprofits, there's a little bit of a, to be honest, nonprofits are not the best jobs normally, because everybody, you kind of exploit people's interest and their hearts to for a good cause. And so you can basically not pay them very much. And I think what we're really doing is trying to push against that trend and saying, hey, we want the best people, and we're going to pay above market rates. And we actually have a kind of an interesting bonus system, like a profit sharing system. So as the organization really thrives, the alumni have a chance to get like bonuses like you would if you worked at a bigger corporate that says, hey, you guys are the lifeblood of this, like, why can't you also really, like, this doesn't have to be a survival job. And it's been awesome. We've been able to, hire alumni, who have really unique, different backgrounds. We've hired alumni away from corporate jobs. We've been able to bring in really people who are the absolute kind of, stars who, I think we think will add the most value. And I think, it's fun also because as somebody who's known these people since they were, in 8th grade, 14 years old, it's really, really cool to be like, hey, I remember I heard a podcast by a guy named Derek Sivers on it, and he just talks about, he had a company, and he just said, you can make your own company a utopia. You don't have to put in all of the, kind of the rules and the friction points and the things that make people hate their job. You can treat people really human, and you can, we have a policy where our staff, if they want to go on any amount of vacation, if you want to go to, I've said, if you want to go to Europe for 3 months, just let us know. Like we want you, because you are also like the beacon and the inspiration. I got to spend a lot of my 20s traveling, and it was really such an informative experience. But for them, it's even double meaningful, because then the students look at them and they think, wow, I never knew you could do that. It kind of breaks open the world as what is possible. And it's been really cool to see like our staff, as they're like, becoming these like really vibrant young professionals and going to film festivals and, doing really interesting international travels. And, we look at that really as additive. That really is the mission. The mission is to build really vibrant people, and our staff is kind of on the vanguard of that.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I like the word vibrant people. I feel like that's a really good way to describe it. Not just people that are, plugged into the system, like you said, that just have a job, that are just going through the motions. You got people that, that are vibrant, that are living their lives to the fullest extent that they can.
Yeah, and it all kind of feeds back into the system. If you have staff that are really vibrant, they love their job, and then they are, better mentors and coaches to the students, and the students get excited by that life. And, it just, I think a lot of times we treat people who work for us as like a resource that we try to like maximize the most value from, with giving the lowest value back. And I just don't think that's a very sustainable way to engage with human beings. And, for us, like, we want this to be, and we really want this to be your dream job. And we want this, ideally to be a job that you can have, forever, that this could be something that you really, look at as like a real calling and a career. And so it's been really fun to get to kind of, and we're in the really early innings of like building a really unique and interesting staff culture. Like last night we did a big like pizza night, and it's really fun to like be with a place where everyone loves their job. It's like, I don't think that's very regular, and it's just sad to me. You spend such a big portion of your life, and just even just like the little human things, again, like of trusting them and just letting them kind of you don't have to you don't have to start work at a certain time, or it's just saying like, hey, I know you love this, and I know you're going to find the ways to add value. And we don't have to create like a police structure. And it's amazing, because then what you get is people who, our staff puts in so much extra effort, and they're so invested, and like again, I think the system kind of it's self-fueling. It's just like the more they love their job, the better their job is, which makes the organization better, and that just kind of feeds itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. What are maybe some of your proudest moments over the years of running Imagine Scholar?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of like where I have been most proud is kind of in like weird, silly things, and not, like, it's not usually in like the huge accomplishments. I think I love when people just are, back to that word, like vibrant, when people are, when someone has an experience that just like, like one of our staff in GOA went to like a film festival this year, in Johannesburg. And it's like, just like when she came back, she was so alive, and she was like, couldn't stop talking about just how cool it was and how she was just there. And I just like that, to me, is like, and then she ended up running a film festival here at Imagine Scholar, and we treated it like a real film festival. And, we had really top level films that they show, at the real, film festivals around the world. And, we had a jazz cafe, and it's like to kind of bring that experience back and that energy. I think stuff like that makes me really proud. I think the other kind of obvious thing that is just like when the underdog kids, when the kids who, had the really tough situations, or, who didn't start off as like the obvious, people, end up like having these like wonderful lives. There's a couple kids throughout the years that, like, just defied all odds and built like a really wonderful life. And then to see them, like, some of them are now parents, and, and they're married, and to see them be good, like, wives and husbands and good parents and stuff, I think that's like, I think some of those moments, of like, it's not, again, it's not the big stuff. I always think that, like, a lot of the impact, we always talk about this big grand impact story, but I always think a lot of the impact is just like, yeah, how do you treat your kids and how do you treat your neighbors? And, are you just like a really good person? We had this really one year, three of our kids got into a Yale summer program, and it was really
Oh,
incredible honor there. I think they were the only kids from South Africa that were selected, out of a country of 60 million people, and they got these full scholarships, and they went, they spent 3 weeks on Yale's campus, and it was really cool. But at the end, one of the we got feedback from um, the program, and they said, hey, your kids were, they were incredibly kind. They came up and said thank you to the professors, and like our kids are the ones who like go talk to the kid that nobody's talking to. And I think that's also probably an area, like getting that kind of feedback that our students are really good people. I think that's
yeah.
also a big point of pride for us.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. Those are the, I think I wish everyone was like that. Unfortunately, not. But that's amazing that you're creating such great people that will spread joy and positivity around the world.
Yeah, I think we realized a long time ago that the world doesn't really need more successful people. Like we actually have plenty of successful people. I think where the deficit is like people who are genuinely good people and successful. Like that seems to be where the real like the benefit is to be had, is like, can you create people who are empathetic and people who are kind, and and a Managing Scholars culture, the one non-negotiable is you have to be kind. I mean, like that's our, like, we can work on anything else, but like if you put other people down or you belittle anyone, or I think like kindness is kind of the alpha virtue here.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I like that. I think in the world it's usually like you can be successful or you can be kind, and to put those together, I think that's going to create a better environment for everyone. So again, I just like kudos to you on all the amazing things that you're doing here. It's really really inspiring to me. I'm curious though, have you faced any challenges along the way, or had any moments where it's really been a struggle to make it through?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, I think if I was really naive when I started it. Like I was a very my 20s were mostly filled with like just a bizarre level of confidence that was completely unfounded and not grounded in reality. Um, and I think the first several years were just like me just boldly going forward and like having no business. And I didn't have any network. Like I didn't grow up with like well connected or anything. And so it just, we'd have almost no money, and so there was a lot of years like that. But I would say, I mean, even today I had an incredibly difficult day of just like, nonprofits are a weird business of like, fundraising is a really challenging thing because it's not a meritocracy. There's no like Shark Tank, or there's no like, you can create something really really beautiful and really worthy, and to be honest, you're not entitled to anyone supporting it. It's a and this year in particular, of my entire career, I'd say this has been the most difficult, and it just feels like you can do everything right, and things just don't happen. And sometimes, the other side of that coin is you get really lucky. Random things will happen, and you'll end up finding big supporters. And I mean, we it's I think that is the frustrating nature of this business, though. If I sell widgets and I go out and sell 15 widgets, it's a known thing. And fundraising just isn't like that. It's there's a lot of there's a lot of it that is out of your control, and sometimes it falls your way. And this year has just been it just seems like a really frustrating year of like, whenever the little plinko ball falls, it seems to kind of fall the opposite way. But again, we're very fortunate. I mean, getting through the COVID years and all those, that we built a really good base of support. But yeah, there's no finish line. You never like get somewhere you're like, nice, we made it. The nature of nonprofits, you can't like really, in a normal business, you can kind of, like nonprofits, if you get money, you kind of need to spend it. It's kind of the nature of the beast. So it's interesting as we're in growth mode of just, how do you sustainably grow when there's a lot of interesting questions. But yeah, I would say the challenges on the programming side, though, not, as weird as it sounds, I mean, it's because we're so iterative that our big failures are pretty navigatable. So I mean, I think we've made lots of mistakes, but it always felt like part of the process. But yeah, that's a rambling answer to a simple question.
No, well, I'm sure there's challenges every day, and I'm curious, what's, I guess, what's it been like, coming from America into this rural part of South Africa? Was there any challenges, getting buy-in from the local community as an outsider?
Yeah, it's like I'm still, I mean, I mean, I'm still an outsider 13 years later. It's I think it's in some ways it's interesting. It's like I find that I love living here because I'm an outsider and I'm always going to be an outsider, and it allows you to kind of float. It's like I love being here, but I don't necessarily feel like I absorb the challenges, of the culture. Where sometimes when I'm back in the States, I feel the visceral difficulties and the things that are going on. But to get buy-in, it was just a slow process. I think you know, a lot of times in the world, you don't really it's interesting to find people who are really of action, people who do the things they say they're going to do. And I think that the challenge is just kind of wading through and seeing like who's going to really be your advocates. And I think it's taken, it took a few years to really find the principals and the teachers and the people who are really going to be vested, even, we got really lucky to have some parents that were really, really supportive early on. But it's been a slow process. I think sometimes you think you're going to come in and you have this program and it's going to do good things. It isn't instantaneous that everybody's going to say, wow, like that's so cool. It can definitely be a slow process. And, but no, and I mean, I think that having the alumni now back as staff has been just such a boost, because they're so much more integrated into the community. And, I think this year has been a really special year for like just burgeoning partnerships and getting more teachers involved. So I think, I think that like that piece of like having them be the spokesperson, like the spokespeople has been a huge benefit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm curious, how did you might have gave me the answer already, but how did you decide on that one specific community? How do you even, get to that part of South Africa?
Yeah, that's a weird question. Like I always joke, like if I was to do it again, I probably would have found a place on the beach or something. But I was living in Thailand at the time, and just kind of was about to go back to grad school, and was living up in Chiang Mai. And a few friends I went to college with connected me in with like an organization they were running, and one of the guys there, had a very tenuous connection with this area, and so he offered to bring me here for another project, kind of a semi, kind of sort of in this space. And so it was, and like I said, it was during the World Cup, and I thought, oh well, I've never been to the continent of Africa, and it's 3 months, and it'll be kind of cool. I'll go, I'll work this project for a little bit, and then check out a few World Cup games. And this was never, I mean, I loved living in Thailand. I thought, oh well, I could, come back here at some point, but I never really thought, oh, rural South Africa would be a place that would hold me. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I got here, and very much like 3 months was, and yeah, 13 years later, I'm still here. But just a complete random chance. Even the person who originally kind of made the connection to come here, his connection to the area was like, he had a guidance counselor from school who came here. It's like it was not like he had some like abiding connection. So it's kind of weird the way life works. And I mean, I met my wife while here, and I have a child. It's like everything in my life is basically because of this like incredibly bizarre, not particularly well thought out decision that like. And again, if you would have asked me, I never would have thought that this like, I mean, I even nonprofit work. I mean, I didn't really see myself as somebody who would have thought about even doing anything in this space. So I guess it's like one of the kind of the beauties of getting out into the world, and you never know, like the ideas you think. When I was in college, I was planning on being a sports agent, so that was like my grand plan, and I took the LSATs to go to law school, and that's what I thought I was going to do. So running a rural African nonprofit I would have been blown away that this is what my life ended up being.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, it's almost like the universe knew what you should be doing in your full potential before you knew it.
Yeah, no, I was very close to going to law school, and I was in Brazil, and I just had this really kind of like weird moment. I was sitting in Florianopolis, Brazil, and it was right about to fly back, and I was sitting on this rock, and it was this weird moment of like just for the first time ever being like, why am I going to law school? It was such a, sounds like such a stupid thing to realize, but it's like, I think I just didn't know what to do. And I just cared so much about status, and I just wanted to feel like I was important, or I was smart, or I was something valuable. And so law school kind of felt like a step to that process. And it's interesting as you kind of start, you kind of make one decision, and then it's just could not have been a more different life. And again, a life I'm very happy with and incredibly proud of. But I always tell our students, it's just, you kind of just have to put yourself out there. And because
Yeah.
it's such an interesting thing to like look and retroactively and thought, gosh, if just a couple little things would have been different, every variable of my life would be completely different.
Yeah, that's so insane to think about. Um, did you start Imagine Scholar with your wife, or did you meet her, later on in the journey?
Yeah, so my wife was, I think, the fourth staff member of Imagine Scholar. We had a little laxer HR policies back then. So she came down for a 1 year volunteer opportunity, and it was very clear, like when she was here within a month or so, she's like just a kind of just a superstar human being, and was like, wow, we really would love to keep you here, like as an Imagine Scholar staff member. And then um, eventually we found there was a little bit of a spark between the two of us. And so we've kind of co-run Imagine Scholar for just about 11 years now. So she came in year 2. And she's done a lot of programming and really kind of driven a lot of the curriculum development. She has a real abiding passion of neuroscience, and just how does learning happen, and how do young people kind of how do they come alive. And so it's been a wonderful partnership. I think being able to do it together, it's obviously helped with like sustainability, and
Mhm.
but yeah, it's been nice to kind of have somebody to build it with.
Yeah, definitely. When I had the opportunity to meet her a month or two ago, she seems like a rock star, and it just seems like that partnership has really worked out well for everyone. And now you guys have a young kid, which is exciting as well.
Yeah, he's got a good gig, man. Being so we his name's Otis, and he's going to turn a year in a couple of days actually. But he has the most incredible setup just on earth. I mean, he like just being on campus, and he never not have somebody want to like hold him and play with him, and having all of our staff here. And we had this amazing young man who was this incredible Imagine Scholar. And so we actually had brought his mom on to help kind of watch him during the day. We're like, well, you did an incredible job raising your son. Maybe you can put some of that magic in ours. So it's
Yeah.
very good for him. So yeah, we're always kind of ourselves as parents to be like, yeah, I don't think any young person on earth gets like more showered in love and just positivity. And Imagine School is a really, really positive space. So it's been a really great place to have a child as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have plans to expand Imagine Scholar within the community or beyond the community potentially?
Yeah, we've always said our stuff is all open source. So what I would love to do is find somebody, when I started, I think I was 26, 27, and somebody who's really passionate, and say like, hey, here's what we learned, and you don't have to make all the mistakes, and here's what we've learned about this, and here's our curriculum, and kind of let it expand via ideas. I think our alumni, are going to continue to grow in the community itself. So I think we did a big expansion this year of, going out into the schools. So I think we'll continue to grow as more alumni come back. And then I don't know, you never know where life will go. At some point, the alumni staff will probably not need us as much on the day to day. So we will probably, I don't know what we'll do. I mean, we'll still be involved, and I'll always help kind of on the fundraising side of things. But I could see us at some point trying to do something somewhere else. But who knows? We always say, like, if we ever like ran away with the circus, what would we do? But I mean, even whenever I'm back in Yakima, everyone asks, would you consider doing something like this back here? And I don't know, it's been such a fully immersive project that it's kind of daunting. I mean, we always looked at this as a 20-year vision. So we're on year 13, and so we have 7 more years to get to kind of this 20-year mark. And I think for a program like ours, you kind of need about that level of commitment. And so, I mean, it's a little scary to think about jumping in for another 20 year
Yeah.
adventure. But I would love to help other young people, um, like who are passionate about this. I think I think for me that would be a direction I would love to go, is being a bit more of a mentor, and obviously with our alumni. But yeah, but who knows? I mean, Kyle, it's very hard to like. I always like. I've become very suspect of my ability to to estimate what my future is going to be. I think I'm pretty atrocious at it. So we we'll keep all options open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I could definitely see, you know, this really just, growing into something that, could spread around the world too. Especially as you have more and more alumni that are going out into the world. I think you just really, really show people that there is an opportunity to, do things, maybe a little different than we're used to, and have it be, a good thing for everyone. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I always we have some incredibly ambitious alumni, and it's like I always feel like I've always thought of myself, and I think my wife thinks this way too. We're kind of like more like craftsmen. We wanted to
mhm,
do something not that big, but do it really, really well. And so we've kind of been in this lab, and we've been and the program's a decent size now, but we've never grown for growing sake. But there's definitely some of our alums who I feel like have like I think have a little bit more of an ambitious bone in their body, and I would love. I mean, the thing that would make me most proud is to see again them start the next chapter down in Cape Town, or somebody to start something somewhere else. That I think that organic model of trusting the people, like that these young people have the capacity to not just recreate what we've done, but really evolve it, and you know truly like what is the next evolution. We've kind of created the version 1, but what's the version 2 and the version 3? And so that's the exciting pieces. So much of what the future of Imagine Scholar is just going to be a bunch of really like extraordinary individuals finding ways to make interesting impact. And like this early childhood development program, I mean, it's like it's been awesome. I mean, I'm very grateful to be on the board of directors, and to watch her name's Dodwa, to her like to innovate and look at this different space. And I think when you think of eventually, hundreds and soon thousands of young people who have all been part of this program, who have access to the same kind of, network. And I think, the potential is pretty endless. And I think,
mhm.
what I'm hoping in the next 5, 6 years is that what I get to do is just kind of help support them do a bunch of cool stuff in all sorts of different sectors.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Um, yeah, Corey, I'm curious, how can people help you in your mission in Imagine Scholar, and how can they help the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, where we are right now, I think one of the things I've realized is, we've done I think a really thoughtful job, like building a program. But I think the next step for me, and maybe the evolution for me as executive director of Imagine Scholar, is just getting out in front of more people, and having more conversations. Getting connected into to different networks, and in everything from like people who have who are in the early childhood development space, who want to like talk to Zadwa about what they're doing, to obviously, I mean, funders and foundations and things like that. But yeah, if anyone's excited by this work, and feels like it kind of hits them in a spot, and this seems like something they'd be interested in. Obviously, they can check out our website, which is imaginescholar.org. And yeah, I mean, my email is on there, and if people would want to have a conversation, I'm usually back in the States for 2 or 3 months of the year. So I'm based out of Seattle, or I'll be in Yakima, kind of back and forth between the two. But
Mhm.
yeah, I would love to grab a coffee and talk about. Imagine Scholar is a really unique organization. It's not a big organization, and I think individuals can have a pretty substantial impact. It's a very personal
Yeah.
organization. So yeah, I always say, it's like we're looking for people who really this like speaks to them. So yeah, if anyone's interested, definitely reach out.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely recommend that people, go check out the website. I'm looking at it right now. It's very well done, and just really follow what you're doing, and help the best that they can. I know I would love to do, partner with you guys in some way. I know talking with Lucky last month that we had some ideas just in that short conversation of like how we could work together and build, build something in the community. And so that was really exciting. And to just, I don't know, listening to you speak and getting to learn more about what you've done in your life, just is very inspiring for me, to go out and, reach my full potential and help others, do the same. So, I thank you for all that you've done. I mean, it's amazing. And, it's creating, I think, a better world for everyone.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Kyle. I really appreciate that. And like I said, I really getting to kind of meet you and see, the path you're on and what you're doing and why you're doing it and what you're hoping to get out of it. Yeah, I mean, as I told you this, I mean, it just reminds me a lot of, I think you're probably a little bit more focused and a little bit more intentional. But I think the same spirit was there of just trying to get out into the world and having this, vibrance, like you said, a vibrance of that the world's a really beautiful place. And I think people can get bogged down in a lot of negativity. And I think one thing I'm really grateful for is, we're in an area that has a lot of challenges, but, there's a lot of good stuff going on in the world. And there's a lot of good people who care about, moving the world forward. And I think, it's when you get in a little silo, you kind of lose sight of, not that there isn't challenges and not that there's not difficulties, but it's a pretty incredible life we get just to get out there and experience it. So yeah, no, keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, thanks again, and thank you for taking the time, to do this. I know it's tough with our very different time zones and across a couple continents and everything. So I appreciate, you and all the work that you do, and, really looking, forward to someday getting down there and checking out, Imagine Scholar for myself. But hopefully we get to see you somewhere around the world soon.
Perfect. Awesome. Kyle, well, thanks so much, and have a good rest of the day.
Yep, you as well. Have a good one.
Hey everybody, Kyle here. If you enjoyed today's show and want more, you can always check out every episode on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, and now Amazon Music as well. Just search for Our Travel Experiences on any of those platforms and it will pop up. You can also find everything all in one place on my website, ourtravelexp.com. And if you want to see my travel pictures as well as travel pictures from guests on the show, you can check them out on Instagram. The page is called Our Travel Experiences Podcast. And if you want to share your own pictures on the Instagram page or be a guest on the podcast, you can message me via that Instagram page or email me at ourtravelexperiences@outlook.com. I would love to see your pictures and hear about your travel experiences, so please send them my way. And if that isn't enough for you, make sure to check out my weekly YouTube show, From Around the World Fridays. Every Friday, I'm taking 5 to 10 minutes to answer questions from listeners, share some souvenirs that I bought over the years, share my postcards over the years that I've accumulated, or share videos and pictures from one particular city or country that I visited, and so much more. So check it out, guys. You won't be disappointed. And make sure you go subscribe to that as well. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you somewhere around the world soon. Thank you to all the listeners and subscribers of this podcast. It's amazing that I get the opportunity to do this and, talk to all of these amazing people around the world and hear their stories and share it with you. It's been a dream doing this. It's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to keep moving forward with it. As always, the subscriptions, $3 of the monthly subscription goes towards providing school supplies to kids in need around the world. And I'll be providing more updates on those, on progress with that as time moves along. But again, hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next week for another inspiring story and great episode. Have a great week. See you next time.